Hey, Peter Parker. You got something for me?
Major, hi, hello. Did it just... I don't know what's happening. Okay, you are here. Cool. So, I fixed the subscription alert. I don't know why it's coming up with your subscription again, but, uh, yeah. I appreciate you. You're the best. No, I know you would be here. It just didn't show any viewers, so I wasn't sure if like that subscription was like coming through from Tuesday or if you were here. But hey, I fixed the alerts. It only played once and it did it correctly. I figured out what the problem was. And there's not chimes every time someone says something in chat. I fixed both of those issues, so making progress. Alright, let me get everything together. Sage! Hi, hello, welcome in. Hope you are having a good day. Can't stay long, you got a hot date. Nice. Well done. I hope it goes well. Yeah, hope it goes well. Hope you have fun. Yeah, all good vibes. Alright, I am going to start up our movie puzzle for today so we can get into that and then pick up from where we left off last time and see what comes next. I don't know. Alright, ready, set, let's go. Someone in Reservoir Dogs. You're ordering something different. You're so excited. Oh, like at the place you're going? Nice. Not sure. Oh, no, it's not Steve Buscemi. It's not Tim Roth. I don't think it's Michael Madsen. Not sure who else was in that off the top of my head. Puss in Boots. Antonio Banderas. I think that's right. Instead of ramen you got last time, getting the kind he got because it looked better than mine. Nice. Good call. Um, Banderas. Okay, I put ES. Armageddon, so Bruce Willis, Ben Affleck. I don't think Matt Damon was in that one. No, it wouldn't fit anyways. Liv Tyler. I don't know. I'm struggling on this one today. Alright. Pretty sure this one is Liv Tyler, though. It was Lord of the Rings Two Towers. Donnie Darko. I'm guessing... That's funny. I can never spell their name correctly, but I think it's Maggie Gyllenhaal. Which is funny because the main character of the movie is played by her brother. Oscar winner, 1975. Next. The Hunger Games. So, let's see. It's not Jennifer Lawrence. Actor name, not character name. Sage. It's not Josh Hutcherson, Liam Hemsworth, Stanley Tucci. No. Oh, I wonder if it's Donald Sutherland. Yeah, whoever played the Mike chick. Elizabeth Banks is who I was thinking, but yeah, it didn't fit. So I think it's Donald Sutherland who played President Snow. Groot. Is it EL or AL? I think it's EL. Doesn't really matter. The Jungle Book. You don't know anyone's name. It's alright. Jungle Book 2016. So Jon Favreau. I mean, he directed it, but I think it's too many letters in the last name. Favereau. Yeah, by one. Let's see. I know Idris Elba, Bill Murray, Lupita Nyong'o. I don't know. I'll have to come back to that one. And then Milk from 2008. Sean Penn or Josh Brolin, so Josh Brolin. Alright, we got less filled in for our first run last time. I know who it is, though. Well done, Major. You got it, too. So it was Harvey Keitel. Really? Did I not say him? No, I guess not. Owen Wilson was in Armageddon. I have not seen that movie, I think, since around the time it came out, so not surprised by that. Let's see. Ingrid Bergman. Oscar winner in 1975. So that's definitely one of her later roles. And then Ben Kingsley for Jungle Book. But, we got most of them, and we figured out the final name. So, we're doing alright. Alright. Now we've done that. Let's get in. Let me zoom in this so it's a little easier to read for you. Alright. So, I just renamed this document to writing prompts, but I tried not to think about them too much between Tuesday and today, so I wouldn't get too far ahead, because I want to try to do as much of this on stream as I can with chat and with everyone. So, um, my kind of idea for today was to go through our 6 sets, we'll say, of writing prompts, and kind of, are we rolling die? Um, I don't think so. We can if it comes to that at the end. Um, but before we got there, I kind of wanted to think about what the movie broadly would look like and what the theme of the potential movie would be. Because I think theme is just as, if not more important than what the plot would be. Because these writing prompts kind of set you up on a trajectory for a plot, but what is that plot aiming toward, and what are we trying to say with it? So I think that's the best next step to do, I think. I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah, usually I come up with kind of an idea on my own and I just let it roll around in my head for like a couple weeks until I kind of figure out some things with it, and then I start doing a lot of this stuff. So having to kind of think about it proactively and kind of go through that process um, on paper, so to speak, um, I think will be a good um, change of pace. Oh, we'll see. Um, so I guess what we can do, insert page break. So we'll try to keep these as like separate pages. I don't know that we'll use up the entire page, but it'll just be easier to not, especially with some people who like to read ahead. Not mentioning any names though. Alright, anyway. So it's 3 a.m. That's your name. It's 3 a.m. An official phone alert wakes you up. It says, "Do not look at the moon." You have hundreds of notifications, hundreds of random numbers sending you "It's beautiful night tonight. Look outside." So with this, I feel kind of a horror thriller type movie, because there's obviously a mystery about what happens when you look at the moon, why you're getting these messages, and there's just a lot of questions that we would need to figure out. But for the theme that we could explore with it, I mean, the obvious one that comes to mind is kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Groupthink, and not intimidation, not bullying, but like peer pressure almost. And do a sci-fi story that talks about our society today and how people get information, what they believe, and what they share with other people. Right? That all makes sense? I will take that as a yes. Yeah. Alright, so let me make those into some notes. So this would be a sci-fi horror thriller. Um, Themes of peer pressure, kind of information bubbles, in sharing information. And then, like I said, we'd obviously have to figure out the answers for all of these mysteries before we started writing it so we would know where we're going and not just guessing and hoping we get to the right place. Um, yeah. Anything else about this one we want to jot down before we move on to the next one? Okay. Yeah, we'll leave that one there for right now. No. Insert. Page break. Alright. On to our second writing prompt. When you die, you appear in a cinema with another of other people who look like you. You find out that they are your previous reincarnations as soon as you all begin watching your next life on the big screen. So the movie that kind of came to mind when we went over this one last time was a movie from this past year called Eternity, which is an A24 movie, which is about a couple ends up in the afterlife and they have to choose where they want to spend eternity. Um, but they don't show up there at the same time, so um, each of them has different ideas about what they want to do. So I feel like we would have to take kind of a similar um, path into it of figuring out kind of how we want to portray. Alternatively, the Great Flood. I have not seen that. We would have to figure out kind of a mechanic for how we want to portray the afterlife. In this writing prompt, I mean, it says you appear in a cinema, but obviously we can kind of change it to whatever else. And then let's see. We meet a bunch of other people agreed with the movie you stated. Also, if you haven't seen Eternity, it is really good, and Elizabeth Olsen's in it, so yeah. And Miles Teller. If Sage is still here, she'd be excited for that. Yeah, so I would want to try to figure out an idea for how to portray the afterlife in kind of a unique way, because I feel like Eternity did that and kind of they had kind of a retro feel to the afterlife. Um, I'm trying to think about this in terms of what it would look like as a movie, because pretty early on, your character would, or the main character would probably have to die, go to the afterlife, meet other versions of themselves from throughout history, and then they start watching the next version of themselves. But we'd have to do something to kind of speed that along so it's not a bunch of people in a theater just watching a baby for however many years. Um, but like with the previous one, I want to kind of figure out what theme would we want to explore with this? Like, what is the point of all of this? Of watching the next version of yourself reincarnated as another person? Because immediately my mind goes to, we'd have to figure out a way for the main person who dies at the beginning to be able to communicate with, to try to guide the person they're watching on the screen in some way. So I mean, it could be kind of an allegory for like becoming a parent, but it's like dealing with reincarnation instead, and I don't know. Because if it's just passive, if it's just them watching someone else's life, like I don't know, there has to be some action. Yeah, there has to be some sort of way for the people in the afterlife to communicate with the person living. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it could end up being something about like I said, the allegory of being a parent, but in this scenario, it being another version of you, it would be more direct, and the people in the afterlife would be trying to influence the person who's still alive to not make the same mistakes they did, to live up to their full potential, things like that. And I feel like there's a lot of parallels with parenthood, but the lesson they would have to learn is, you know, at a certain point, it's no longer their life. The people in the afterlife have to move on, and the person living has to be able to live their own life, make their own decisions. And so it would have to be about the people in the afterlife learning the lesson of, you know, letting go, moving on, letting the person they're watching make mistakes and fuck up, and they have to learn from their own mistakes. They can't be told. Yeah, I feel like. Yeah, I feel that's probably where it would have to go, to me. parenting. Actually, before I write that, or those in the afterlife would be able to communicate or influence with the person alive. In order to prevent them from making the same mistakes they did. So parallels to parenting, they have to learn to let go. It's not their life. Life, not leaf. Alright, so parallels of parenting, but they have to learn to let go. It's not their life. The person living it needs to live it and make their own mistakes, learn their own lessons. Yes. Yeah. So I'm trying to think if there's any other kind of pathways that would be interesting with this. Nothing's coming to mind. Alright, our next writing prompt that we pulled. A woman has been dating guy after guy, but never seems to work out. She's unaware that she's actually been dating the same guy over and over, a shapeshifter who's fallen for her, and is certain he's going to get it right this time. Yeah, and Vidsy suggested it could be set in the past. Okay, but you love this one. So, which version of this one do you like? The kind of horror version of the shapeshifter who refuses to let the girl go, or the more romantic version that Vidsy was kind of suggesting? Mortal shapeshifter romantic version. So I don't disagree with you, but this one I actually did think about a little bit between Tuesday and today, and I feel like it could be too similar to something else I've written. I haven't written anything with an immortal shapeshifter, but I did write a story about kind of reincarnation in a sense, but it was the idea of the same stories echoing through time and repeating themselves with the same types of characters throughout history. And so I had 4 points in history, um, all going through different struggles, but their story arcs were all kind of the same. Um, so I feel like the immortal shapeshifter looking for the same person throughout history could be similar to that, if that makes sense. Hmm. And also thinking about the mechanics of having an immortal shapeshifter. Because obviously, if they're immortal, well, not obviously, but assuming they're immortal in basically our world, that whoever they're trying to get would be different throughout time. Because it really couldn't be the same person unless they too are somehow immortal. Which is possible. We could figure out a way to do that. Um, but then if we have different people throughout history, then it's not this. That I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling. A little. Yeah. Okay, so let's say we have our immortal shapeshifter. They find someone. Hold this as a possibility. Yeah, I just want to try to get a better sense of it while keeping it as a possibility. Um, so let's say we have our immortal shapeshifter. They find their person. Um, things go wrong. Vidsy! Hi, hello, welcome in. We were just talking about the writing prompt from last week and trying to figure out some details with it and how we could make it work. Um, so we have our immortal shapeshifter. They go, they find their person that they've fallen for. Um, so let's say the first time they go out on a date, it doesn't work out, but the shapeshifter is like, all right, I'm not giving up, gonna try it again. I think on like the second date, or we could do like a montage of a couple different ones that continue to not work out. At some point, something has to happen to the person they've fallen for that causes them to somehow have some form of immortality. If we're dealing with an immortal shapeshifter and we want to move through history. that the person that they've fallen for would also have to somehow be immortal. Hmm. So, I have a weird idea. I don't know. Fuck it. Let's go with it. Let's talk it out. See if it makes sense. Um, so what if we started off in the near future? The immortal shapeshifter is who we're following, and they find a person and is completely infatuated with them. Um, they go on a couple dates with them, but something goes wrong, so they change their appearance, go on another date, things go wrong. Do that 2 or 3 times. And then at a certain point, the shapeshifter finds out that the person they're infatuated with has a secret. They're not a person, they're an android, a robot, whatever. Um, and that could make them basically immortal, but yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what just came to my mind, that the android would know it's the same person. Yeah, because it can read some sort of biology. I feel like this is going into like sci-fi rom-com territory. Um, Major's here for it. Okay. So, where would we go from there? What would the main date be to make the guy fall in love? Start from there. And whose perspective are we reading from? Like, are we just doing one side? Um, all good questions. Person has a rough date with them at different periods, and finally in the modern age, two click at a bookstore slash coffee date. Okay, so um, another version of this. What Major said Um, the immortal shapeshifter we're following is going through this, and they change their appearance each time throughout history that they find this person. And I guess they discover that they're not the only immortal shapeshifter, that the other person is too. We got a yes from Major. Okay, so if we do that one, we're showing these dates throughout history. Each time something goes wrong, or they run into something where they get disconnected, and then when they finally meet in present day and things click, what changes? Because something would have to change. Yeah, I think that's where I'm hung up. And each day slowly gets better. Yeah. Yeah, I think like the first date would go catastrophically wrong. Like everything that could go wrong would. And then as we progress, um, like they start to build a connection, but more external forces end up pulling them apart rather than things they're doing pulling them apart. Right? Uh, it's kind of giving this British show I saw before, where every ep was the same day but 1 year apart. We saw lives of two people develop separately, but then get together at the end. Exactly. Exactly to me or to Vidsy? Okay. Yes, I agree with that progression. That progression makes sense. But in order for them to get a happily ever after, there has to be a lesson learned. And by using this context, I don't know what lesson they need to learn. Well, I know a lesson they can learn because I wrote it in another story already, but we're not doing that. We're trying to do something else. The lesson learned is that the girl woman is the one waiting, writing about the rough dates through different time periods. The android learns about it at the book reading. But that's more of a plot contrivance. That's more of a how they end up crossing paths again. Well, maybe in between the date you give us info on what the guy is doing. We see how he changes through time and how his experience changes him for the better, like selfish person to humble. Yeah, that's more of what I'm talking about. He learns how to woo her by his own designs. Okay, so the follow-up question. We can show a regular average person going through that progression, right? Starting off as someone selfish and learning humility. Why do they need to be an immortal shapeshifter? I'm not trying to veto this, like, it's one of our writing prompts. I'm more trying to imagine what the movie is going to look like, so when we look at all of our writing prompts, we have a better idea of what we are getting into. Because I don't want to get, like, part way into it and just, like, hit a brick wall. Because reasons. uh, Major, usually you have all of the reasons. We're here to help you around the brick wall. I appreciate you, Major. Alright, let me just write a few notes so if we come back to this one, we remember kind of some stuff. The woman android or another I can't spell sometimes. Start off things they do. But as I create a connection, it's more external forces that pull them apart. Okay. I missed a bunch of stuff. Because eventually he forgets what he looks like, and with the person he reveals his true look, which is the look that he used on the first time they met, which is way before their first. Which is what? What? Huh? Like, oh, okay. So before the date, in passing, he saved someone but went into hiding because people wanted to hide. And ends up being her that he saved all those hundreds of years ago. Maybe a mortal witch of some sort. And she was always looking for him too. Okay. Okay. So, eventually he forgets what he looks like. And he reveals his true look, which is the look that he used the first time they met. Before their first date. Keep the wall in there. Like in passing, and he saved someone. Saved her. Without either realizing. Her. Like in passing, he saved her without either realizing, but went into hiding because people wanted to hunt him. And it ends up being her that he saved all those hundreds of years ago. Like maybe an immortal witch. Of some sort. And she was always looking for him too. Alright. All the patch notes. Yeah. Major! Thank you, Major, for 500 bits. I hope the alert played and played correctly? Question mark? I don't know. Look at Google copy and pasting everything. Yeah. If it didn't play, I will play it for you, Major, because you deserve it. Alright. Alright, so we got some stuff for this one. Yeah, I like some of the stuff that Vizzy came up with. Right. Insert. Break. Page break. Then let's just do the last one as well. So more ideas or I agree. Let's do it. Okay. I'll leave this one up for right this second. I'm going to go wash my hands, so I will be right back. And as always, Major's in charge. Alright, I have returned. Emote dance party! All the emotes, all the dancing, all the partying. I wonder if speaking also means they can read. Oh, for the prompts. Yeah, it can be whatever we want it to be. Major needs to make another drink. Everyone in this person's family is born with a gift, and this person is gift to be able to speak in all the languages. And once there is at least one person in the world that can speak it, or is from that culture. Everyone in this person's family is born with a gift, and this person's gift is to be able to speak in all the languages. Once there is at least one person in the entire world that can speak it, or is from that culture. Okay. You can see this review Australian archaeologists. They're so fast food because they haven't had the travel. And this person feels lost because they don't know try and find lost city or world. Damn, I don't even have to do any work for this one. Vidsy's just rolling. Major, let me know when you get back. Creative juices are flowing. Okay, so the person they come across that they're able to communicate with. Second person is a cousin. Yeah. Um, but who is that person, really? I feel like the answers that come to mind most quickly is they're either an alien or someone. They could be like a time traveler, someone lost to time. Alien would be cool. Okay. So, as I kind of got at with the previous one, a lot of this is like the mechanics of the story, which I'm all for. I love knowing mechanics and how we want things to work so we can explain it. Like, this is a McDonald's on one of those space station planets. That would be funny. Um, so you're thinking of like a futurist sci-fi version of this. So they're working on the International Space Station McDonald's. Um, they think their gift of being able to speak any language has been rendered useless because as humanity ascended into intergalactic species, one of the first things they developed was um, communication devices. So they would be able to communicate with any species. So that's why this person's working at McDonald's, because they can speak any language, but there are machines that can do it. That is, machines can only do it with known languages. Then they come across someone who no one can communicate with except them, because this language that they speak is unknown. And this person is an alien from some uncharted part of space, and them and our protagonist get into misadventures. Okay. So they go on a cool adventure. They'll have to come up against something at the end. What lesson does our protagonist need to be confronted with learning? I guess is my ultimate question. Heard everything I'm here for it. Cool. I made sure to copy and paste all of Vidsy's ideas in here too. Alright, so humans in the future are part of an intergalactic alliance, but the protagonist feels useless because communicators can translate all known alien languages, that is, until someone shows up who no one can understand except the protagonist. So this is kind of the call to adventure, the inciting incident to get the plot moving. Um, we would have to figure out who the alien is, where they came from, why they came here, and what, in going through an adventure with this alien, would change about the protagonist. He just wanted nuggies. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to delete this one, but I am going to cross it out because I feel like the other one is more... No, not highlight number. We're just going to strike through it. So it's still there if we need it, but it seems like we're leaning more towards the being able to speak to someone. keep thinking about Star Wars, and not just because I'm a nerd. It just... That's like one of the best examples of kind of... I said not just because. Um, like this feels like a very original Star Wars almost plot, because you have someone from the outside, the call to adventure, they need to go on some sort of adventure, but going through all of this, what does our protagonist need to learn? What lesson? And that's where I'm kind of sticking right now. Because this could go in like 100 different ways. Like it could go anywhere from this alien shows up because their society is under attack and they're trying to get help fighting off an evil invasion. And this protagonist needs to go with them because he's the only one who can communicate with them. And if they wait until they're able to create the translation for all the communicators, their species would be extinct. So we need a ticking clock. But what would throwing this kid into the middle of that be for? Or it could be something a lot lighter, like it's just an intergalactic bounty hunter and they need someone who can speak this language, so they kidnap this kid so they can pull off some sort of heist or whatever it is. But in going through that, again, I keep coming back to the same things. Kind of what's the point of putting them through all of this? And it could be something as simple as we portray our protagonist as they feel useless, so they've kind of given up and are just working a mundane job, not doing anything, and then this huge adventure just crashes into their life and makes them reevaluate how they've been living and what life can be for them. Very much like I'm guessing Atlantis, where the guy tricked Milo into helping him because he was the only one who can read the runes. Yeah, something like that. I don't think I've seen Atlantis. If I did, it's been decades. But at least with what you described, yeah, that's one possibility of kind of what I'm considering. We must watch it together. Pretty sure that's a Disney movie, so it should be on Disney Plus, so yeah, we should be able to do that. Alright, so let me write this out and see if it all makes sense. can speak the unknown language. Bounty hunter. Meet them. Going. Okay, so the person who can speak the unknown language is secretly a bounty hunter who needs someone who can speak ancient languages for a job they're working. In going through the adventure, the protagonist learns that there's more to life, they feel useless, and have more or less given up when we meet them, and they want to go on their own adventures. Okay, Vizzy's gonna be right back. Okay, I'm actually gonna go back to this one for a minute. So, Major, you can tell me yes, no, or whatever for this, but while I was washing my hands, I had the idea of focusing everything we've been talking about with this one. So, what if we open in colonial times America, and we meet a young couple who are very much into one another, and everything's going great, but then a group of men show up and says one of them is a witch. So they grab her up, start taking her away. The other one tries to slow them down, but there's 6 of them, there's one of him, and he can't really do anything. They go through a process, very quick process of convicting her as a witch, and are set to burn her at the stake. And the guy, who is our immortal shapeshifter, has a chance to save her, but could cause trouble for himself, and so he doesn't. And so, at the beginning, this character is a coward, but then, years later, they've changed their appearance, and they meet a woman, and kind of like what we've talked about, they try to I don't know if they're a male witch necessarily, but just they're immortal and they're a shapeshifter. So we're in a world of some fantasy, fantastic realism, I think. Um, and then what we go into is kind of what Vidzi was talking about. Would that be the opening, though? Or would that be the reveal at the end? Either way. Why is it not adding a bullet? Oh, he thinks she actually died, but she's actually a witch. And so when he sees her at another time in history, he convinces himself that it's actually someone else, but it is actually her. But she doesn't recognize him because he keeps changing his look. So then by the end, he would need to. This is the obstacle he would have to overcome. He'd be put in a similar situation again and have to learn the lesson and be willing to sacrifice something. Okay. I don't know why this didn't create a bullet here. There we go. Okay. So this one we have an idea for. Alright, so we got 2 left. So, due to your nerdy great-great-great-grandfather in 2017 buying a star and some modern legal shenanigans, you're now the proud owner of a small intergalactic empire. So one of the things I started thinking about when we came across this one the other night was, when, sorry if this gets sad or anything, but when I found out one of my grandmothers had passed away, I started thinking about her a lot. I wasn't able to go to the funeral because reasons, but I took some time away and I was thinking about her a lot. And one of the questions that kind of came to my mind was, if I had met her when she was my age and we were the same age, like, what would she really think of me? Because, like, as a grandparent, I know she loves me, and that's not a question, but kind of like, what would happen if you met someone in a different scenario. And so that's something that I thought about with this one, in the idea of legacies and, well, family legacies. You're a modern bestseller author and take advantage of your notoriety to build an intergalactic neighborhood like Beverly Hills. Is that for the... Well, if he owns the entire empire, he can probably... He's probably in charge of all the money and such, so can do whatever they want. For me, this story, I think, would need to be like a two-hander and follow both the great-great-great-great-great-grandfather and the, assuming grandson, granddaughter, who's now the owner of a small intergalactic empire. I think paralleling that kind of stuff is more interesting. But what do they need to go through? Sorry, I'm just trying to play out some stuff in my head, but not getting anywhere. So if we follow... Yeah. So if we follow both of them, we would need to show parallels between them. Things they're both going through. Skip this one, we can come back. Okay. And then, alright, this is our last one. You discover a library with a biography for everyone on Earth. While reading your own, you notice that whenever someone else is mentioned, there's a footnote showing where you can find their biography. It's odd how someone who is only a sentence in your book has a whole chapter for you. Your chapter is detailed down to the minute. So, I mean, if we're writing this to be a movie, we're not going to show the words on the page necessarily, right? Like, it would be a framing device of this is how you saw this situation, and then you find out someone else saw the same situation in a very different way. So it would be showing the setup of finding this library or whatever mechanic we want to use, and then someone flipping through a book and seeing a particular incident happen from their perspective, but then later coming across someone else who saw that same incident in a very different way. So I guess my first question that comes to my mind is, what type of incident could it be that would be insignificant to one person but very significant to another, and that could carry a full-length movie? The battle is for Central Park with Tippy Toe lead. What? Is Are you trying to write a Squirrel Girl? Yeah, okay. I was like, Tippy Toe, Tippy Toe, what? Isn't that Squirrel Girl's lead squirrel? Uh, yeah, I mean, we could make it. Yeah, it could work as like a superhero-esque movie where instead of going to a library, like at the end of a hero's life, they're um, plucked from Earth by the Watcher, who needs them to see this so that they can learn something. So at the end of their life, they're able to correct some mistake that they've made. But we're getting into a lot of licensed IP there. Which, because this is essentially an original idea that we're trying to create, we could just give it generic names. You know, a generic superhero at the end of their life who thinks they've saved the world and made it a better place for everyone is greeted by basically, we could say, the personification of death, afterlife, life itself, whatever. And given the ability to see everyone's biography, and then they find this incident that they think they were the hero for, but it ruined someone else's life. I don't know. So, Major, I will ask you this. Do you think we've run out of steam for today? And we should just push these last two for the next stream? Oh shit, Rad just showed up. Welcome in, Rad. How you doing? You're tapped out? Yeah. I feel like my wheels are kind of spinning too. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we've gone an hour and a half tonight. We always shout out Major. We are on the same page there. Very nice, very nice. Well, now that Rad showed up, I think it's time to end the stream. Nah. Yeah, I think we got some good ideas for our first couple of writing prompts, and the last two maybe we come back to um, next stream and see if we can come up with some ideas for them, and then um, decide which one of these we want to keep moving forward and start working on kind of filling everything out with it. I think that's the plan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Alright, yeah, we'll do that. So, Rad, yeah, you missed some stuff. We went through our first four writing prompts from the other night and just kind of brainstormed some details about them and kind of what themes and ideas we would want to explore with them. So, but the last two, I think Major and I are both a little burnt out, so we will pick this up next time. Next stream is probably going to be Saturday, earlier afternoon, because I know Major, you have D&D Saturday night. So if I did it Saturday afternoon, I'd try to finish it up before then. Or I might just go Sunday, so it doesn't conflict with that. Drinking and driving. No, we don't do that here, Rad. The other D&D. Yeah, so I think that'll be the plan. We'll come back to this sometime this weekend, and it'll either be Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon. Probably start around 3 o'clock West Coast time. And try to finish those other two and then figure out where to go from there. So, yeah, that's the plan. Let's see if anyone else is streaming that I follow that we can raid. Not really. No one else is streaming. Okay, yeah, we'll just end it there for tonight, and I will post up on Discord when we're streaming next, and yeah, the go live and all that stuff. I think I've said everything. Thank you again, Major, for the sub, for the biddies. I appreciate you. You're the absolute best. And yeah, we'll pick this up next time. I will see y'all then. Bye.